some Christian in the chat had made a comment a little earlier that I wanted to address. It said this is the kind of, I don't know, lack of knowledge that you get when you have atheists commenting on the Bible. And can I remind any Christians in the audience that most of this panel were Christians at one point, and everybody on this panel is, well, excuse me, apart from Isaac and Tomer, right? So,
Yeah,
and
we were
everybody
religious.
on this panel,
Although Tomer wasn't. Yeah.
everybody on this panel is
Kinda.
studied on the Bible more so than Christians commonly are. And some of the people on this had actually dedicated their lives to scriptural study.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
at least what I'm doing.
I mean, Lawrence is getting a degree. Mark was a pastor. I had so much of the Bible memorized, I was correcting pastors when I was 8. Isaac and Tomer were both raised in Judaism, which I remind you is where we got most of this book.
and their education in the Bible was compulsory.
Absolutely. And Tomer brings us commentary every single week, sourced from so many different sources. Granted, some of them are theological rather than scholarly, but
they're all academic, aren't they? I mean, everybody that Tomer sources, these are all respected rabbinical scholars or whatever.
Yeah, but it's like
Well, some of them are
rabbinical scholars. It's just not. There's a history of theological thought as opposed to the history of scholarly thought. I mean, Lawrence and I talked a lot during the Pentateuch about the whole, arguments over the documentary hypothesis, supplementary, fragmentary, how much of that to bring in on any given point. But that's more. So we're referencing scholarship, theology, history, modern and ancient theology in 2 different religious contexts. And the person who makes that comment is calling that ignorance.
Yeah.
And also if we're
Really?
I think he made that comment when we were like talking about like, was Zion inside Jerusalem or outside? Like, there's a reason why that's confusing, right? Because the text contradicts itself. And some places it says this place is Zion, and then another place it might say this is Zion. So, that there's a reason that we're not all thinking the same thing.
And it's not like we're citing sources like nobody reads. Like, I graduated from an evangelical fundamentalist seminary, and we all had access to the same commentaries, Harmonia, all the stuff that we're quoting from Tomer's citations, ancient Christian commentaries. This is all stuff that everybody in seminary has access to, and no excuse to consider as part of their learning. So
Also, I promise that I've read a shit ton of stuff when it comes to biblical studies. I mean, right now next to me, I have a couple translations, but I also have a couple books. Yes, I also have a couple books on biblical archaeology. I have a book on King Manasseh. I have 2 books on the Deuteronomistic history, and I have a book on the Cosmic Mountain. That's just right next to me. I have like 3 bookshelves filled with books about biblical studies exclusively.
Actually, when I moved across the country, so I lost a good part of I had to sell off a lot of my books in the move, which is a real bummer. But I still have a ton of books I got, not only apologetic books from when I was a Christian, atheist thinking books, but books that I got from a pastor's library when he sold off a lot of it because he was going to go work in another country. And I still have all that stuff, and I reference it. I brought over the William Jennings Bryant book, which I grant you is not scholarly, but definitely relevant to the history of evangelical thought, if we want to call it that. Like, there's so many different perspectives that you can look at the Bible from, and we try and cover several, including both scholarly and more commonly encountered in the world. But yeah, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The person who made that comment, he's not there right now, but he did make one other comment, which just wanted to address quickly, which was the Bible, was it successfully or correctly prophesizes that the temple will be destroyed or something like that. And I think you might want to, I think Lawrence has probably a video about how all of those things happened after the temple was already destroyed. Like those were written later.
Well,
I
it's not
do.
that I have a video about it. It's more that like the ex eventu prophecy is like just a thing that
Yeah.
people talk about.
Honestly, in this speech by Solomon, where it talks about now the prophecy is fulfilled that David's son will blah, 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 it sounds like something they wrote after the fact.
Same thing with the New Testament Gospels. They were written
Oh, yeah.
past AD 70, which was when the temple was destroyed. So what are they
Mhm.
doing? They're like trying to make this look like Jesus prophesied this temple destruction so that it fits its theology. But how convenient. We're writing in the future.
And they fictionalize many aspects of Jesus' story in order to fit prophecy.